Hello, 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 and welcome. Now, in today's interview, we're going to be talking about how and why female friendships are so important with none other than the amazing Naama Barnea-Goraly, who is an MD, but also the creator of Telle, which is a private app that has been designed especially for women who want to connect with other women that they can just be themselves with, and also who want to kind of foster and nurture their female friendships. Now, before I continue, just in case you're unfamiliar with me, perhaps we've never met before, I'm just going to introduce myself, okay? So, my name is Nina Dafe, and I'm the founder and the editor of the Far Above Rubies collection.com, where I basically help Christian women to know their worth, their power, and their purpose so that they may speak up, step out, and shine as the amazing women of God that He created them to be. And if that's something that sounds right up your street, your cup of tea, then definitely consider hitting the subscribe button below. And you also want to stay tuned because by the end of this video, you are going to walk away knowing the difference between male and female communication, but also why it evolved that way. You're also going to walk away knowing why female friendships in particular are so important, not just because of all the quotes about how you are the sum total of all, the 5 closest relationships to you and all of that sort of jazz, but actually how it's been scientifically proven to, improve things like our health and so on. You're also going to walk away knowing how to foster female friendships effectively and how Telle can actually help you with that, and much, much more. This is a very meaty episode. Naama is full of great wisdom, so you definitely want to stay tuned. And before we get into all the meat and potatoes of that, what I'm going to do is a very quick introduction to Naama, and then we'll get right into the interview, all right? So bear with me. So, Naama Barnea-Goraly, MD, received her clinical training in child and adolescent psychiatry at Stanford University, where she also completed a postdoctoral neuroimaging research fellowship. She then went on to work as an instructor and brain researcher at Stanford. Her research on brain structure in disorders affecting social cognition was published extensively in leading psychiatric and neuroscience journals and presented in international conferences. In the course of her work, she became interested in gender differences in social cognition and the benefits of strong friendships and what they have to offer, especially for girls and women. No stranger to the challenges of long-distance girl friendships while raising 3 kids and managing a demanding career, she is on a mission to help women keep their girlfriends in their day-to-day lives, no matter how busy or far apart they are. This mission led her out of the lab and into the real world to create Telle, a private app designed especially for women to connect with the women they can be themselves with and also to nurture female friendships. Telle is designed for all women and is tailored by age, so tweens, teens, and adults. As a child and adolescent psychiatrist, Dr. Barnea-Goraly was especially interested in helping girls nurture supportive female friendships at a time when these friendships develop. In the teen version of Telle, girls get content appropriate for them and can learn how to navigate the joys and challenges of friendships with tools that would help them to grow into confident women who have a supportive girl tribe. And so, without any further ado, we're going to go straight into the interview. Enjoy! Hi Naama, how are you doing?
Hi, how are you?
I'm so, so good. Once again, thank you for being with me. I was going to say this evening, but I know for you it's morning, right?
Yes, it is. Thanks for
And
having me.
oh no, so cool. Honestly, I'm like really excited to kind of dig into everything. I've been looking forward to this actually. So yeah. So as you know, I've kind of already introduced you to everybody, quite formally and everything like that. But
Mhm.
just in your own words, could you just let everybody know who you are and also all the amazing things that you do?
Yeah, of course. So I am an MD. I've studied medicine,
Hmm.
and then I did clinical training. So I wanted to be um, first I wanted to be a pediatrician actually, and then I really fell in love with child and adolescent psychiatry. So I started that training, and then I got really interested in brain research. So I did my clinical training at Stanford in child and adolescent psychiatry, and I also did a postdoctoral research fellowship in brain imaging and neuroscience at Stanford, and I did brain research there. Looking at using MRI to look at mostly brain structure, mostly children and adolescents, mostly disorders that affect social cognition like autism. So I did that for many years, and I loved it. But then I decided to start something on my own, kind of something that's more independent and more creative. And I had this idea that's kind of been bugging me for a while when I was working, that I want to do something that would help a lot of people. And for me, one of the things that bothered me the most was that in my relationships, I have my family and I have children and I have a husband and my close family. But other than that, I have my girlfriends that some of them I've been friends with for many, many years. And I always found it really hard to kind of keep them in my life in the way that I want them to be involved in my life. So to know like everything about them, like we used to when we would see each other at school or university or and I felt like we see each other, they're all different and not all of them know each other, but we see each other about once a year, maybe, if that. Sometimes, and even the ones who live close, it's hard to get together.
Life and, kids and all the stuff that you're doing. It just gets in the way, doesn't it?
It does. And also as women, we also tend to not make it a priority, even though we crave it. We feel like it's an indulgence. So we kind of like, I really need to be there for dinner with my kids, and I can't take time, to take a girls' night out like once a month, kind of thing. So I kind of felt that there's no good way to do that. So we text. We used to text and call, and then we would meet each other once a year. So I just wanted a better way to do that. That would be something different that doesn't exist. So I decided to create a company that does that, to build an app for just girl friendships, and that is designed, based on my knowledge in social cognition and based on what me and my friends, and then I interviewed about over 150 women now, spanning from age 10 to 55. So kind of put it all in there in the app. So that was my path.
That's
in a nutshell.
Really interesting as well, because like you said, it's like, you were going from all the kind of, stuff about brain imagery and, I guess stuff that's like very data driven and, all of that sort of stuff. So like you said, something that's quite creative and your own, independent and everything like that. What I guess led, I mean, you mentioned a little bit, had the desire to kind of stay in greater contact with your friends and that sort of thing, but what was the bridge, I guess, that caused you to want to pursue this even more?
It's a very unusual path for sure. I don't know anybody who did that. It was a very long process. It took me years to figure out what I wanted to do when I grew up. And I think it's a very actually common experience. It's just not everybody can take the plunge, or not everybody has maybe the confidence or guts to do that. And that was, in other times of my life, I actually couldn't do that, financially, or when the kids were really little, it was really something I couldn't even consider. So it was a long process. One of the reasons was that I absolutely loved the work. I loved the research and I loved working with the kids. I didn't love the environment. I didn't love academia per se. And I think it's also a common experience with a lot of people, and especially women working at very large institutions. They're very rigid. They're very formal. And at some point, it really grates on you. Like, especially in academia, but I guess in many fields, you always, always, always have to ask for permission. Like, you can have the most brilliant idea. It takes years to get the idea going.
I can identify with what you're saying. So I'm sorry to interrupt you, because you know, like, I remember saying to you as well, in a way we've got kind of similar paths, in the sense of, like, my background is speech and language therapy. So, like, literally, you know, background working with children with autism and all of that sort of jazz as well, but mostly in, like, the education setting in schools. So it's the same sort of thing as well, where actually it can tend to feel almost like you're just ticking boxes, and whereas you wouldn't, you know, would love to be creative, especially for the sake of the child and their families and stuff like that. I think particularly teachers really find, I know in this country, that they just cannot, because there's too much to kind of get through. It can suck the life out of you, right?
It really can. You know, I found that I know how to, and I think that's also a process. I don't know if you've experienced that too. Like, I realized at some point, I'm really good at publishing papers. I published a lot of papers. I got grants. I led grants. I can do this, but the fact that I can doesn't mean that this is what I need to do for the rest of my life.
Absolutely, yes. So identify. Yes.
And another thing about academia that most people actually don't realize, but every person in academia I talked with can definitely identify with that. Is it is a job, right? So you have to be productive, and it's publish or perish, right? So it's all about publishing papers. At the beginning, it was really exciting, and I actually was one of the few people who loved writing papers. I would sit with all my all the other papers around, and kind of get all the essence of the information to write my own paper, how it supports my findings, all that stuff. I actually really loved it at the beginning. At some point, you realize that, like, I've done a lot of work, and I've actually discovered things that nobody else knew before, more than most. But at the end of the day, and it kind of pains me to say, I haven't helped a single child with my research. And when I realized that, it kind of was really disheartening. And this is the case for most research, because you can't, I mean, big discoveries are few and far between, and you never know where the research is going to go. And you can't always think about those, out of the ordinary ideas. That doesn't always happen. And even if you do, it's very, very difficult to get them funded, and they might not even work. So that's the experience of most research. You can find things, you can discover new things that are really stimulating and interesting intellectually. But as an MD, I started this for the patients. I didn't get there from the neuroscience point of view. I really, really felt like I wanted to get out there and actually help real people. And I felt like with this app, I could actually help more people than I did with my research. So
that's really interesting. But did you find at all that, like, your background fed into, like, your app? Like, you talked about, like, the research, even like with the, what's it, 150 now women that you kind of interviewed? So, like, has that, I guess, still fed in? Like, how has that worked?
Absolutely. Yeah. I think it's really interesting. That's what I always tell my children. It doesn't matter what you do. Now when you're a kid, you can experience a lot of things and learn a lot of things that will never actually be something you actually do in your life. But everything you learn enriches you and helps you in ways that you may not even anticipate at this point, right?
True. Yes.
Definitely. So my background I use it all the time. First of all, my science background has helped me. I read all the papers about, female social cognition, and I've read some of this also for my work, but more of, I was kind of more focusing on the pathology. But I downloaded hundreds and hundreds of papers about, from social media to how people communicate, how people socialize, all the theories. And these are papers that if I didn't have a very strong scientific background, I could not read. It's
Sure.
it's
Yeah.
written in, actually, most people actually don't even have access to them. It's
Yeah.
really hard to find them. But when you start reading them, if you don't know science and if you don't know statistics and you haven't written papers yourself and haven't reviewed papers yourself,
Yeah.
it's impossible actually to understand.
Yeah, I can imagine.
So, so I'm kind of at the unique position that I can actually understand these things and use that information when I'm designing an app. And then in terms of psychiatry, I was a therapist for a few years. So just being able to really listen to what people say without putting words in their mouth, without influencing what they tell me, is really important in market research.
Yeah.
And people are like, why are you not recording the people you're interviewing? And I'm like, I don't need to, because I'm used to listening and remembering. That's a skill.
Wow.
Like when you interview somebody, it kind of puts them on edge. It's
Sure.
like, it's not a natural
Yes.
situation. If you want to be, sometimes people tell me really private things about their relationships, about their girlfriends, about their experience. And if you introduce, a recording device, then it can alter what they say.
Yes.
So definitely, that helped.
Yeah.
So yeah.
In terms of like because you mentioned, was it first that you were already kind of doing like the research into like, I guess, the communication aspect of things and female friendships, and then the interest grew out of that? Or I guess it's almost like a which came first, the chicken and the egg kind of. Was that what it was? Or
so I've always been interested in female friendships, and like I've always read about it. I was always really interested in it. It was a few years ago I actually wrote a grant about it was about autism. It was about looking at kids with autism, boys and girls, and that led to looking at, and of course there's always a control group of typical boys and girls. And I read a lot about how they socialize, how we start, how it begins, and even the evolution of socializing in primates and all that research. I was really, really fascinated by it, way beyond what the grant writing required.
Sure.
Just started reading on a tangent, and I was like really, really fascinated. So I think that definitely started that thinking. It kind of all came together at some point. And and I thought, this is something that I can definitely identify with. Like, this is how I feel in my own life.
That is amazing. And so in terms of like what you found, I guess, through the academic papers and then also like doing these interviews and things like that, what have you found in terms of, because I guess your focus is on female friendships. So what have you found in terms of, I guess, the way that we communicate, why it is that way? Are there any differences also between us and men, for example?
Yeah, definitely. So we all know that men and women are different.
Yes.
Well, but it's definitely actually it's actually an interesting topic, because for years, I think in the 60s and the 70s and probably also the 80s, even the 90s, it was kind of inappropriate to say that men and women are different.
So true.
Because I think because of the childhood notion that if something is different, if two things are different, then one of them has to be better than the other. So who's better?
Yes.
And we are different, but we're equal. And that's a kind of tough concept to get. But we are different in many, many ways, and we socialize differently, and it stems from our very early days in evolution, how men are inherently on average stronger and larger than females, and traditionally they would go out and hunt, and the women would stay in the cave or in the village together, right? So the way the men had to socialize is shoulder to shoulder, is like doing something together and being silent, because if they talk, they would have no food, or they would be food.
Right.
So that was not an advantage. But for the women who stayed in the cave or in the village, we had to socialize, we had to exchange information. That was a huge advantage. So the women who had close friendships are the ones who had more protection and also more information and also more help with the children.
Yeah.
So if you were sick, your children would get better care if you were connected with friends. If your friends discovered, where the good berries are and where the poisonous berries are, and they would share information with you, or when an enemy would come, you'd be better protected if you had your girlfriends.
Right.
So it's kind of a matter of survival for both genders. And it's still today how it's described. Like if you look, and we know this from our experience, but even research has shown this, that men socialize shoulder to shoulder, and women socialize face to face. Right. So a lot of the way we socialize is self-disclosure, is analyzing emotions, offering support, and the way men socialize, and they definitely, they socialize and they have close friendships, and but it is a lot shoulder to shoulder. So they play together, sports or video games, or
that's exactly what I had in my head. Yeah, the sports and stuff like that.
Yeah. Or they watch a game together, but they're doing something together, and there's not a lot of self-disclosure.
Yes.
And the thing is that friendships for both genders is very important for their health, mental and physical.
Yeah.
It is more so for women. So women who have close female friendships, on average, they live longer. They have less colds. They have better heart health.
Wow.
And there are actually studies about breast cancer, and women who had close female friendships survived better.
Wow.
Even in face of such a serious disease.
Yeah.
So for men, it's actually really interesting, but the benefits that they get from socializing is actually more about having a close relationship with a woman. So usually it's the spouse, but it could be any female friend.
Yeah.
So one of the thinking is that form, the way that we socialize, is a lot of we nurture each other, and we listen and we offer advice, and that's really important for our stress response.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's interesting, like even as you were speaking, I remember, I don't know if it was last summer or something, I was meeting with a group of friends, and in this friendship group, it's like 3 guys and two girls, and well, me being one of them. And this particular day, my girlfriend, she wasn't actually able to come, and so it was just me and the guys. And I remember I was just really, really curious, because the whole concept of me sharing with my friends in the way that I do, my female friends in the way that I do, like a lot of the guys were just very much like, oh no, like, we don't do that, that sort of thing. I remember being like, but why? And when you said that as well, like what's interesting is that one-on-one with these guys, they're very likely, for example, to express their feelings and their emotions to me, but there was very much this idea of, but we wouldn't do that with each other. So it's very interesting that to a certain degree, actually research has even like backed that.
Yeah.
Wow. That is like amazing. And what about with your the research for the app, for example? Did you find that it backed up the academic research, or what did you find in terms of the way that we as modern women are craving to communicate?
Yeah, I think modern women, the way we socialize is very similar to what we've always done.
Sure.
We talk with each other, we tell about our experience.
Yes.
We exchange information.
Yeah.
So it's so funny, like when I read about it, because the way we compliment each other, and kind of like, right, when I meet a friend, I'm always like, oh my god, I love your hair.
Yeah.
Where'd you get that necklace? Oh, you look amazing.
Yes.
Kind of thing like that. And that's kind of it's a nurture kind of thing. So I tried to build all that in the app. So I think so the reason a lot of people ask me, why just girls, right?
Yes.
Men need that too.
Yeah.
And actually some of the men I've talked to, my friends or my neighbors or or husbands of my friends. They're like, oh, I want something like that too. But girl talk is unlike any other talk. And if you add a man to the mix, it's just not going to be the same kind of talk. And we don't discriminate in our app. You can be a man. we don't ask for gender. If somebody wants to have a man on their app, they can. So one thing I want to clarify, it's not social media. It's not media. It's a completely private app, and it's only with people you know. So nobody can find you there, or there are no followers. So I actually read a lot about social media and how it affects us, and the reason, the good and the bad, and how it affects us positively and negatively, and try to get all the good things and not to take the bad things. And one of the things,
I was going to say, what did you find with that, the social media aspect of things?
So I love technology. It's not, I'm not technophobic or anything like that. And I think social media it's a huge revolution, obviously, and it's changed the world in so many ways. In terms of our well-being, it's problematic, right? So, and it depends on how you use social media and how old you are. But the action of endlessly scrolling through strangers' profiles or people you don't know very well and looking at the highlight reel is not good for us. It affects us negatively, and depression rates have gone up, especially for teens, but also for adults, since social media became more prevalent. And there are a lot of research about it because, correlation is not causation, and you have to be very careful about saying social media is making us depressed, which a lot of, media articles say. But if you look at the research, and there's over 10 years of research now, mostly about Facebook and some about Instagram and some about Snapchat. The good aspects of social media is connecting with other people, especially for people who have trouble, like diseases, or that need support that they can't find around them necessarily. Maybe that you don't know anybody else who has your disease, or your situation. So that's really helpful.
Groups and things like that.
But the need to constantly show the best, the best in your life, and the need to be fake, and the filters, the need to document your life constantly is very stressful. Following people you don't know, looking at what people post, even if in your mind, even if your comparison is in your favor, which is really interesting, that also makes you feel bad. So suppose your friends went to a party, and they post pictures of a party, and you were invited to that party, but you didn't want to go because you went on this amazing vacation. And you're happy you went on that vacation, and you wanted to go on that vacation, but you look at their pictures, it will still make you feel, on average, a little sad and a little bad that you weren't there.
I guess it's that fear of loss, I guess, that we as humans tend to have, isn't it? That fear of loss, that fear of missing out,
The FOMO. So the things that affect how social media affects you in terms of your mood is how much you use it, how many hours. If you follow strangers, if you follow your exes, if you compare yourself.
I'm like, why do it?
Why?
Don't do it.
Unfollow. And basically looking at everybody's highlights, which is what we all do. And I read this really interesting article, actually, that is a hypothesis, but it's really interesting. Kind of a model of depression. So if you think about it, in the old days, so in a cave, you have your tribe, you have your people, right? And there are people who are stronger than you, or faster than you, or like higher in the hierarchy than you are. Like there's always going to be somebody higher than you in something. If you tried to fight that, but to fight the alpha male, for instance,
Yeah.
That's not gonna be very good for your survival.
Yes.
Chances are. But if you, in light of you see somebody that's definitely better than you in something, if you retreat and if you become sad and quiet and lower your head and go up to your cave and maybe be a little bit sad, your chances of survival in that situation will actually increase, because nobody will come get you, right? Nobody will come kill you.
Yeah, that makes sense.
In that primitive situation.
Sure.
So what we're doing when we're looking through Facebook and Instagram is constantly seeing people, they're not necessarily better than us, but they're showing in their picture, they're better than us in our just day-to-day life, right? They have a better vacation, even if it was a crappy vacation.
Yeah.
They look amazing, even if it's a filter and makeup or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, so we're constantly comparing, and it's all every day. It's all the time, and it's people we know or know a little bit.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a model for depression. It's a hypothesis, but I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah, that is really, really interesting. And so, like, I guess the just kind of, if we're reverse engineering that, then almost like you said, you know, like on Facebook, don't follow those exes or ex-friends, you know, like make sure that, you know, you realize that actually people are only showing their highlight reel, whether they're famous or they're very close to you. Like, it's all about perspective, I guess. And if you need to take social media breaks or vacations or come away, then, you know, do that.
Yeah.
So so you said, so it's definitely, it's not social media. Is that the reason why you decided to go the route of the app rather than, you know?
Well, I wanted it to be all about real connection, and real connection can't be public. So, you know, when
real connection can't be public. It's true. Yeah.
When you want to have a real conversation, with your girlfriends, it's not a public thing.
True.
So it couldn't be social media, and I, you know, never set to set up another social media app. But I just kept thinking about what women need, and it wasn't social media. It has to be something that you can be unfiltered, imperfect, just be yourself. So I took features from the social media apps that are out there. You know, we have, you can post topics. We call it a tells. We have disappearing messages. We have like a obsessed tab, which is for your, like, things you're obsessed with, that I would, like, things I'm obsessed with, I would only share with my girlfriends. I wouldn't share with anybody else, really. So you can obsess anything in there. So it's like, so it's a little bit from Facebook, a little bit from Pinterest, a little bit from Snapchat, a little bit from texting, but in a whole new way and in a completely private way. And when I say private, I think it's important to say, especially in this climate, like in light of all the news, that we don't data mine. Everything is encrypted. We don't look at what people say. So we can't look at what people say. So the data belongs to
like the
person. And I think that's critical, because otherwise, well, I wouldn't want to do it any other way, but also you can't be yourself, even if in the back of your mind you think that somebody is reading it somewhere. You know, it has to be just between you and your friends. So nobody can find you there, and it's not about self-marketing. It really is about nurturing that connection between female friends or girlfriends.
That sounds so cool. So, like, help me understand how, like, the app actually works. It's called Telle, right? So I download it, I'm guessing, off the Play Store, just like anything else, and you know, what happens from there?
So it's in the App Store and the Google Play. So it was available simultaneously on all platforms. Otherwise, you know, how could you connect with your friends? You don't have the same phone.
That's true.
So it looks very familiar to most people, because it has like 3 tabs, and it has topics. So you can just talk about something, because we kind of tried to make it better than a group chat. right? So in a group chat, the things that bothered me and most of the people I talked with is that a group chat is almost always people who know each other. Not always, but most of the time. But in that group, you may be closer to some and not to others. Maybe some have certain interests and not others. The only common thing is that they know each other. You know, your friends from college, or your friends from, or your mom group, or. But what about all the other friends that maybe share interests with that group? So it gets really fragmented. So in Telle, you can have all your, I call it girl tribe. I don't know. I'm still brainstorming the term. All the women you like to girl talk with, your closest friends, and also, they could be maybe not your closest friends, but girls, women who you connect with, you can talk with. And every time you post, you tell a topic, you can decide who you're talking to. Right. In a fluid way. You can set up groups, but you don't have to. Like when I post something, about my kids, for instance, I don't want to bore all my friends who don't have kids. I mean, they love them and all that, but it can get boring. Or, when my friends, like I don't have toddlers anymore, my friends who have toddlers, if they want to talk about potty training, I want to hear the end result, but I don't want to hear Or, I have friends who are into, fashion, or into whatever, books, or into TV shows. Like we have a group that we discuss TV shows or stuff like that. So it's very, very fluid in that way. So that's the topics. And then we have our interactions, our hugs and hearts, because it's like, that's what girls do. Yes. We have stickers that are diverse, and like girl talk stickers.
That's cool.
The things that, a sticker, I say that a sticker is worth 1,000 smirks.
Yeah.
We're all about the attitude. Yes. And then we have the obsessed tab. It's a place to put all your obsessions. And you can also decide who you're sharing them with, because I don't want to bore, my friends who are not into cooking.
Right.
So, but recipes, things you've read, or your latest sweater, I don't know, like your makeup. I love skincare, so my skincare stuff, stuff like that. And then there's a place for chat that is like a messenger that has the disappearing messages, and it's kind of like more of like if you want to say something quickly, or like quick fire kind of chat that's not a specific topic. But if you have a specific topic, then you kind of wanted to not get lost in that. So you have all these options, and they're all there. Wow. And what we started to do, like there's so many things. What we started to do is actually, because I want to actually actively nurture that female connection.
Yes.
So every Monday we send something that's called Monday Love. You can see examples of it in my Instagram. Yeah. It's not cheesy.
I love that. Just a quick look, it's not cheesy.
It's not cheesy. I don't do cheesy. But it's like it's a sticker or an expression or something sarcastic, or like something, but that would get you through Monday. An encouragement, like something that you don't have to even think about. We give it to you. We have like hundreds of them. We have 150 of them. So they're randomized. Each one gets a different one, and you can just forward it to your girlfriends, and you already, on a Monday, which is the hardest day of the week, you've already supported them. You already...
Oh, that's really cool. So it's like, in a way, it's like a really cool way of like letting people know that you're thinking about them, or, just a little bit of encouragement without necessarily having to, type out the message yourself, for example. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, exactly. So that we do that on Mondays, and on Fridays, we send out something that's called Girls Night Topic.
Wow.
So it's like sometimes it's a conversation starter, or a game, or a poll, or if you had a sleepover with your girlfriends, like these are the kind of things you would talk about.
Right.
At 2 a.m.
Yeah.
So you can and you learn a lot of things about your friends that way when you already have that conversation starter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really cool. I was going to ask you as well, it's something that just popped into my head, like obviously it's very much geared towards women, and you talked about a little bit like of the evolution and everything like that. I was just wondering as well, like how much of this is like socialized in a way, like because maybe we expect girls and women to be a bit more chatty or boys or men not to? Like, do you think that has like I don't know, something to do with it as well, apart from the whole evolution thing?
Yeah, well, so almost I would say everything pretty much is nature and nurture.
Yeah.
But if you look at the research, they have actually looked at babies, that are just newborns.
Wow.
And you can already see differences in social interaction between, on average, between boys and girls.
Yeah.
And the way they engage. And there's actually this really interesting research about, it's actually it's not horrible, but it's kind of really kind of a little bit of cruel task to do with babies.
Okay.
Which is to ask the mother to not interact with the baby, to be there, but to be blank.
Right.
Kind of to ignore the baby, which is very painful for a baby.
Of course, yeah.
It's painful for all of us, actually.
Yeah. I can imagine it's hard for the mum too.
It's hard for the moms, yes, definitely. So boys tend to give up earlier, and girls tend to kind of try more to engage the moms in interaction, like even as newborns.
Wow.
So I mean, part of it, and on average, girls start talking earlier than boys. So not one of my boys, however. There's always exceptions.
Yeah. It is so amazing though, like when you even just said about nature versus nurture, and it's I find it so fascinating how much of what you've said in terms of the research and even your own in terms of like the interviews and stuff, like I can truly just call on anecdotes and think about like what the males versus the females are like in my own life as well, especially when you talked about when we see each other it tends to be the hair, because if I go back to my that same friendship group, like when it is all of us, like when it's the guys, I'll just sit and we'll talk and okay, but let the other girl in the group come, it's like, oh my god, your hair, when did you do it? And I notice it, it's completely different interactions,
Yeah.
That is so cool. And what else? I mean, I guess for the woman who just like you is maybe interested in changing her career path or doing something different, like a little bit more entrepreneurial but hasn't before, like do you have any kind of like advice for her in terms of like, I don't know, like steps, what she could do, tips and tricks maybe?
So I think being an entrepreneur is really hard. It's really hard. However, I really think that it is probably the easiest it's ever been.
Yes.
So there's so many networks now and support and even online information.
Yes.
So I think one of the thing is to kind of really think about what you want from life, right? Because it's so easy to stay in a job that is secure. It's really scary to leave that. And when I left, I knew that the chances are of me going back to that are almost zero, because if you leave academia, you're already out of it. It's really, really hard to come back if it's probably impossible to come back. So it's a big leap of faith, definitely. And a lot of self-doubt. But then but if you start talking to other entrepreneurs on, even online, you see that the fears and the feelings that you have are universal. It's not just you. It's not like your inadequacy or your lack of confidence. It really is part of the journey. That really helps deal with that. Or like, oh, okay, this is how it is.
This is not a me thing.
It's not a me thing. So I think for me, I made the leap at the time in my life that we finally bought a house, and I didn't have to worry about rent, or in the Silicon Valley. I mean, it's like it's very, very difficult to
Yeah.
you know, to have that confidence that you will be able to stay in your child's school district. I think that's one of the reasons I couldn't leave the job earlier.
Wow. Yeah.
So kind of think about your situation, think about what you can do. However, I think it's probably the easiest and cheapest it's been to start a business than it's ever been.
Yeah.
There's a lot of issues being female founders, being a female founder in terms of finding funding, which I haven't looked for funding yet.
Yeah.
We're completely self-sufficient. And it's by design. This is what we want to be right now. So the company is me and my husband. So I was very lucky in that way because my husband is he's also an MD. We met in med school.
Oh, wow.
But he is a very talented programmer.
Yeah.
So it was easier in a way, but I'm surrounded by women who are developing tech companies without having a husband who is a programmer. It's harder, but it is possible. And also, you don't have to build a tech company. You can, depending on your field and your interests, it's reaching a lot of people is easier than it's ever been.
That's so true. Yeah. I love also how like a lot of your answers also came down to like connections and relationships, so it's clearly something that like is in here with you, it's like very much at the heart of what you do, which I love. That I think it just shows them like your passion, and how that's shining through. So that's amazing. So in terms of like Telle and everything like that, what does the future hold? Are there going to be like any further like developments, or I guess what's the next steps?
Yes. So we put Telle on the App Store a few months ago.
Yes.
Without announcing it or anything like that. I just wanted to test it out.
Yeah.
And see where it sticks.
Yes.
And our best audience. So we have, we've had a few thousand downloads. And our best users are teenage girls and even tweens. Yeah. So we made it. So my friends who have teen girls, and kept telling me my girl would love this.
Yes.
And then my friends who have tween girls are like, because it was 13 and up, because that's it's much harder to get an app approved for 13 and under, obviously, for all reasons. Yeah. But my friends who have kids younger than 13 are like, oh, my daughter would love to use that, but it's not,
accessible to them. Yeah.
It's not. So we made it COPPA compatible. So now it's approved for under 13. So you have to get your parents' permission, basically. Because it's not that hard, because it is a private app. So it's really is safe for girls.
Sure.
But when we noticed that girls are interested in it, what we did is we changed the content. So we ask for age at the beginning. We had to. And based on your age, you get a different app. Oh. So the girls, they get an app tailored for them. Kind of a little bit, we're adding more educational stuff, a little bit like how to deal with friendship challenges.
Oh, that's so cool.
And I love that because, as a child and adolescent psychiatrist, this is right up my alley.
Yeah.
To have an alternative that is positive, that is teaching girls how to support each other.
So true.
And how to grow up to be women who don't compete with each other, but support each other.
Yes. Because do you know what? A part of the reason why as well I'm like nodding vigorously is because if I remember back to being like a teenager and all of that sort of stuff, like reading all the magazines, and it was weird because you'd get like mixed messages. So on the one hand you had all these beautiful models, who would show all the cool clothes and the makeups and everything like that, but then on the other hand, they would still try to kind of counsel you about how to be a good human being and not to bully and not to dislike yourself. And it's like, on the one hand, how do you show me all of these images and promote that stuff, but then tell me not to do it?
Right, like heavily Photoshop.
Like
zero. Yeah.
So I like this idea because in a way it's almost, I think it's almost like the next level up from like the traditional means of those magazines, and even maybe what they're seeing online with the social media and everything like that. But like you said, it's a really safe environment, you know, it's educational, and they're not being fed all the other stuff that they would
Hmm.
have in the magazines and social media as well. I think that's
Yeah.
really, yeah.
Yeah. So we're we're actively developing that, and I'm having a lot of fun with that. I'm meeting with a lot of girls.
Yeah.
They're Gen Z now, those girls. It's no longer millennials even.
Yeah. Wow. Gosh.
And it's just fascinating to learn more about this. This is the generation of my kids.
Yeah.
Um, I'm really impressed by these girls. It's just really, really fun to talk with them
Yeah.
and kind of see what their needs are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so cool. So do you have I don't know, like how can people like reach you, you know, find out more about the app, or, you know,
Hmm.
look it up a bit more, like what is all that sort of information, so I can, well, even as you say, I'll put it in the show notes as well, like on the
Hmm.
blog as well.
Yeah, thank you. So yeah, we are on the App Store and Google Play. And our landing page is telleapp.com, telleapp.com.
Mm-hmm.
You can find the links to download them there.
Mm-hmm.
If you're looking in the App Store, if you write TLLE and space, it'll come up.
Oh,
But
okay. Yeah.
if you don't write space, there'll be 100 apps before us. But if you do the space, it'll come up. Or you can do Girl Talk, Tell Girl Talk.
Okay.
Um, yeah, and I'm always happy to hear from people. Like if you like it, if you don't like it, if you have any
Yeah.
comments, if people want to contact me, in our menu we have a contact me
Oh, perfect.
place, so you can always shoot me an email. And yeah, I love talking with people. So any feedback would be greatly appreciated. We are constantly evolving, so
Yeah.
it's very exciting.
That's so cool. Like I've really just enjoyed just speaking to you, getting all the kind of background to it, you know, like all the research and evolution stuff. But even just the app, I think it just sounds really brilliant. Like I know that
Thank
it's
you.
just something that I definitely would have enjoyed like in the younger days, but even
Mhm.
now, as you said, like I know what it's like to be in a group, for example. You go away for an hour and come back, there's like 50 messages, you know?
Mhm.
So to be able to eliminate that is also amazing as well.
Yeah, and then 40 of them are two girls that went on a tangent, two women who
Yeah,
it like has
right.
nothing to do with you.
What you were talking about, anything that you're interested in, yeah.
So yeah.
So
Mm.
cool. Oh, Nama, thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. Like, I've
Thank
had a lot of
you.
fun speaking to you today, like, honestly.
Me
So,
too.
seriously, thank you.
Thank you.
So, how amazing was that interview? Now, if you were just as blown away as I was by all of Nama's wisdom and pearls that she shared, then definitely feel free to like the video. And also, if there's anyone that you can think of that you feel really needs to hear what was shared, then obviously feel free to share with them. As I say each and every time, sharing is caring. Freely you have received, so freely you should give. I would also love to know what your aha moments and biggest takeaways were. So comment those below. Let's keep this dialogue going and have a little discussion about it all. As you know, I'm extremely interactive. And last but not least, if you would like to see more videos like this, whether it's just me or me with other influential women who are doing amazing things, then subscribe by pressing the subscribe button below, and also hit the bell. That way, not only will you be subscribed, but you'll be notified every single time that I upload a new video, so you can be one of the first to watch. All right, and that's usually at least once a week, pretty much twice. All right, so until next time, guys, you take care, and we'll speak again next week. Bye.